Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miata Grand Touring Launch Edition. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4 and down below is a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now if you haven't seen my reviews before, what I do is I talk about the engine, transmission, and drivetrain. Then I talk about the interior, different features that you get. And then I talk about the car as a whole, which this being a Mazda Miata, I have a lot to say. And if you'd like to read more about my thoughts on the ND Miata, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be making an article talking about my thoughts and opinions of this car. But let's get into it. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4, like I said, and that's actually one of the largest displacements they've ever put into a Miata. The NC also got a 2.0, and it produces a fair amount of power, but that's never what the Miata has ever really been about. The Miata isn't about shoving huge power numbers, and we'll get into that more later. But it is a very nice and peppy 2.0. It really reminds me of the 1.8 out of the NA Miatas, the very first generation. Down below, like I said, we have a 6-speed manual transmission, which is really nice. That 6th gear is really a highway gear, which makes this car a little bit easier to live with than, say, the NA that only had a 5-speed. Ooh. It downshifts real nice. This shifter feels so good too. And I know because this is a brand new car, it's still all pretty much new, but it feels good. It feels good. This particular Miata also has a catback exhaust, which is what you guys have been hearing and will hear in the rest of the video, and it sounds great. And then this being the Grand Touring, which I'll get into in the features portion of the video, this does not have a limited slip differential, so it has an open diff out back. And the other interesting thing that Mazda tweaked for the ND was that this car has electric power steering as opposed to a pump system power steering like traditional cars. So what that means is that there's no real connection between the steering wheel and the steering rack. But that being said, it's spot on. It is really impressive, this electric power steering. And I'm really glad that Mazda didn't just throw any old power steering or any old electric power steering into the car, because it would have ruined the feel of the Miata, but this is still a Miata, guys. This car also has 50-50 weight distribution. That means it has an equal amount of weight above the front wheels as it does the rear wheels. And Mazda's very proud about this. They actually have multiple promos talking about it. So with 50-50 weight distribution, the Miata is more predictable than hearing a Chainsmokers song at a sorority party. It just gives you that confidence that when you throw it into a corner, you know what's going to happen. Mazda also got the Miata down to 2,300 pounds, which is the same weight as my 85 RX-7, which I'll talk about later. But how they did this, because the NC Miata was so much heavier, how they did this is that they didn't remove something that was, a couple hundred pounds. They removed an ounce here, an ounce there, all around the car. If I were to pull the door cards off, you'd see that there's holes in the glass windows down below. That's to save weight. It's really ingenious, and it's how people build race cars. If everything's light, then it's going to be a light car. So let's talk about the interior. In front of me, I have 3 big gauges with a center mounted tack. You guys know I love center mounted tacks because it reminds me of my RX-7. To the right is my speedometer, and to the left is actually a digital gauge, which is really interesting. I haven't seen a digital gauge yet in a Miata, but that's telling me not only miles per hour, but miles till empty, my odometer, my fuel gauge, temperature, that sort of thing, which is really nice. On the steering wheel, I have voice control options, cruise control options, the lot. To the left, I have traction control off. You could set your tire pressure, so it'll ding if it goes below a certain pressure that you set. Lane departure warning, so you can turn that on or off, so if you're kind of going over in a lane, it'll warn you, as well as blind spot monitoring. In the center, you get a nice little touchscreen. That's your infotainment center, GPS, music, that sort of thing. You can also control the center screen with a little switch down by the shifter. Down below that, you have climate control, and then you have a little readout, which most importantly holds, because this car is a Grand Touring model, heated seats, which is so nice because I read the temperature in the car today. Oh, it's 10 degrees outside right now. So that's also why the top is up. Usually I do these reviews with the top down, but I can't do it in 10 degrees. I'm sorry, guys. Now, if I were to flip down the top, all I would do is that there's a handle up here and you flip it back. It's a manual top. It's super simple. One complaint that I do have about the Miata is that when the top is up, you do sort of get a lot of wind noise. And I haven't even been driving it that fast. I think I probably topped it out at about 40 or 50. And there is a lot of wind noise with the rag top. But it's a convertible. What do you expect, guys? I mean, yes, there's a lot of wind noise, but on the flip side of that, you get to take the top completely off when it's nice out. So it's just kind of something you have to live with. But definitely don't be surprised if when you're ripping it in your brand new Miata, there is some wind noise. Another fun little feature about the Miata is that you get a cup holder where you can toss it back here into one of these two slots, or you can toss it up front, and so if you don't have a passenger, it would go kind of where the passenger's legs are. So let's talk about the Grand Touring aspect, and we're not really going to talk about how the fact it's a launch edition. It just means it's one of the first ones to come off the assembly line. So the Grand Touring package is the more luxury package. So while that doesn't come with a limited slip differential, what it does come with is the heated seats, the leather interior. This has a really nice tan leather interior. And I feel like tan interiors are very hit or miss. This is very much a hit. And if you notice here, this is on all ND Miatas. This is color matched to the outside of your car. So if you get a white one, this is going to be white. If you get black, this is going to be black. If you get that sweet, like it's like a graphite gunmetal sort of, it would be that color as well. But this is the more luxury Miata. And so if you were going to the Mazda dealer, you want to buy a brand new Miata, and you have to live with it every single day, it's going to be your only car, the Grand Touring is definitely the package to get. What I found interesting while we're on the subject of packages on Miatas is I went on the website to build a Miata, and you can get a BBS package, which gives you rims and bigger brakes, but you could either select that or an alarm system, because the alarm system is built in with the wheel package. So you could either get an alarm system or get BBS wheels and an alarm system. So if you're looking to steal wheels off a Miata that has BBS on them, know that it has an alarm. I'm not saying that you should steal, I'm just saying, you know, beware. Oh. So let's talk about the looks of the Miata, because there was a lot of controversy surrounding that when the ND, or the 4th generation, which is what this is, was announced. If you notice, the car looks really aggressive. And I'll get into it more, but the Miata has to adapt and change to stay alive. If you look now, there's so many different cars that have so many hard angles and you know, all this stuff. To help further my point, take a look at the Honda Civic Type R. Look at how aggressive it is. Look at all the angles. It looks like it's gonna stab you or pierce something. Now take a look at this. This is a 2001 Ford Taurus as opposed to a 2015 Ford Taurus. And what I've done is outline or highlight all of these straight lines on the car. Now we take the cars away. Look at the difference here. 2001 has the straight lines, yes, for the grille to deflect air, and the bottom of the headlights, sure. But the 2015 has so many more angles and straight lines. It's just the way that styling has kind of moved since the 2000s, or really since the 90s. So going off of that and what I said earlier about how the Miata has to adapt, that's the main difference between the Miatas and the RX-7s. If you guys don't know my channel, I have a 1985 Mazda RX-7 that I did a 13B swap on. So it has a 2nd generation FC engine for you rotary guys out there. It's an S4. And driving a Miata and driving an RX-7 is really similar. And besides the engine and red line and that sort of thing, there's one key difference between the Miata and the RX-7 as a whole. And that is that the Miata adapts while the RX-7 doesn't. The Miata has changed so much over the years just to keep current and stay alive that it's something that the RX-7 never did. And again, I made a little video to kind of prove my point.
Hey, RX-7, we need you to stop burning oil.
No! F*** you!
Hey, Miata, because of pedestrian safety regulations, we need you to get rid of the flip-up headlights.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Miata, we need you to share a chassis with the RX-8. Mazda's kind of down on money right now.
Sure thing.
Hey, Miata, we need you to be a little bit more aggressive to compete with the Subaru BRZ and new Hyundai Genesis.
Works for me.
You see, when the EPA cracked down on the rotary engine, it died. But when the EPA cracked down on the Miata, it got better. It got smarter. Like I said, when the pedestrian safety laws no longer allowed pop-up headlights, Miata just got rid of them. Right now, as I'm driving the 4th generation, and, you know, today in 2018, it's the most current generation, I wouldn't be surprised if later down the road we see a hybrid Miata, or an electric Miata, or whatever energy source is going to be powering our vehicles in 5 to 10 years. Because once Mazda started the Miata, there's no killing it. You can't get rid of this thing. And you know what? I'm glad that you can't get rid of it. Because the world needs Miatas, guys. The world needs Miatas. I'm not going to talk on this too much, but if you need an answer, is the Miata fun to drive? Yes. Miatas are the most fun cars to drive that I've ever driven, because they're underpowered and they're so light and they handle so well that not only do they feel like a go-kart, but you can have so much fun at and under the speed limit because you're using 100% of the power. So thank you, Derek, so much for allowing me to do this review and to film your ND. I really appreciate it, and best of luck to you on your endeavors in Arizona. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the ND Miata. Again, if you guys want to read my article about the Miata, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.